it's me, Ace Frehley. Welcome to Grab a Stack of Rock.
Friday night, we're off to the races. Come and see familiar faces. Uncle Meat, Rob Daniels, Jon Snow. Gilly's here, it's the place to go. Grab a stack of rock with Mike and the Metal Man. Grab a stack of rock and hold on tight as hard as you can. T-Bone's here, it's time for a party. Come and see, got the comment started. Grab a stack of rock with Mike and the Metal Man. Grab a stack of rock and hold on tight as hard as you can. Grab a stack of rock with Mike and the Metal Man. Grab a stack of rock and hold on tight as hard as you can. Grab a stack of rock. Grab a stack of rock.
Sorry, Ace had to split, but this is Mike from Grab a Stack of Rock, and today we're going to do another compilation of stuff you haven't seen before, stuff you forgot about, and new stuff too. The first thing that I want to show you on tonight's special episode is this. Now this is not a musical instrument. This may look like a musical instrument with all the strings, but it is a piece of art. This was carved by a Prince Edward Island artist named Kerras Jeffrey. His stamp is on the back of the instrument. Kerras Jeffrey Woodworking, Prince Edward Island. I believe he started off doing decorative awnings for houses, but his weird and whimsical wood art is what he will be remembered for. Unfortunately, Kerras passed away a few years ago. This came from a 2002 trip to the island. I saw Dr. Stompin' Tom Connor's childhood home, but this was a highlight as well of the trip. Going to Kerras Jeffrey's woodworking shop and buying this. I think it cost me around $160. He had all kinds of weird and whimsical things in his wood shop. He had mermaids carved of wood with their dresses made of candy bar wrappers. He had turtles made out of World War II army helmets. And this, I had to have it. I had to come home with this. I don't know how many of these there are in the world, how many of these he made. I think he had a couple there when I bought this, but there aren't going to be any more of these. So, yeah, Kerras Jeffrey from Prince Edward Island. And just perfect for grabbing stacks of rock, wouldn't you say? Well, let's try that. Let's improvise here for a moment, shall we? There you go. Grabbing stacks of rock, thanks to Kerras Jeffrey. That'll be in the next trailer. I also still have my original Prince Edward Island fisherman's hat that I bought on that same trip. Good as new. You know, as my hair continues to grow, I'm looking more and more like an Imperial Security Bureau member on Star Wars Andor. Anyway, I'm going to show you some more clips from past Record Store Tales, and this one comes from Record Store Tales number 676, Cry for Help. It was a video blog and a true story, based on true events.
Damn you, LeBrain.
Hey, it's LeBrain, your shaggy LeBrain. And I want to share with you a story today that's actually more of an audio story. Back when I worked at my second record store, but the first record store that I managed, there was, the boss had an office in the back. It had one of those little mirrored windows so he could see into the store, but nobody from the store could see into his office. So nobody really knew he was back there except by sound. And sometimes he would be sneezing back there. People could hear that there's somebody back there. But the most entertaining sound was his, what do I call this? Maybe a howl of frustration. Let's call it that. I'd be working away, and I'd hear in the back room, I'd just hear, ah! Do you want to hear that again? Ah! You know, different variations, different notes maybe. I'm sitting there working away, helping customers. All of a sudden you hear, ah! From the back room. Just tell customers, hey, yeah, it's just the boss. He's just doing paperwork. Anyway, that's my story. Let's call this story Cry for Help. Ah! Yep, that was a true story. And the thing about the sneezing, that triggered another memory. And I know I've written about this probably in one of my classic quotes posts. But one day the boss was in his back room in his office, and he just let out a hell of a sneeze. Like a really emphatic sneeze. Like an, ah-hoo! And I remember a customer walks up to me and he goes, wow, that was a pretty good sneeze there. And I'm like, yeah, he's an expert. And the customer goes, did you know that sneezes are an orgasm for the brain? And I was just like, huh. No, I didn't. But now I do. So there you go. My boss. There was another great story about a pen. Maybe I'll share that in another installment. Anyway, I'm going to go with my Imperial Security Bureau haircut here, and we're going to segue to another clip. This is a clip that I did early in the pandemic when masks were first mandated. And I said to myself, I'm going to buy a Darth Vader mask and wear that around and see what people say. Well, I never did that, but I did film a cameo for a good friend, Ralph Vitale from The Rock Shop with Ralph. So have a look at this cameo. This was done largely with Audacity, the audio editing program, to create the Darth Vader voice. Enjoy.
This is Lord Vader of the Empire doing a special cameo for The Rock Shop with Ralph. This comes to you from your good pal, Mike Ladano from the LeBrain Train. Mike says that everybody should check out The Rock Shop with Ralph. He says Ralph is a pretty cool dude who loves heavy metal music. As you know, I, Lord Vader, also love heavy metal music. Please check out The Rock Shop with Ralph, or I shall choke you. I, Lord Vader, have endorsed this podcast.
This next segment proved to be one of the most popular videos I ever made. It's a video about the Iron Maiden reaction figures. Now, you'll see a lot of criticism for these figures online. They're 5PA, which means 5 points of articulation, the head, both shoulders, and both hips, just like classic Star Wars figures. So they're all completely compatible. They are in the same scale. Oops. Here's the Silver Surfer. I have shown him off many, many times before, including on the Contrarians. Here's another Eddie. And for comparison, here is a Kenner Star Wars Darth Vader. So, you can see how they are completely compatible, which is appealing to me. You know, here's 3 franchises, and you can mix in other franchises. There's Planet of the Apes, there's Terminator, there's Alien, there's everything. There's like literally Transformers, for example. There's another one. Anyway, I like reaction figures, although the prices have continued to rise and I have stopped collecting them. But when I made this video way back in, I don't know, 2021, I had a complete set of Iron Maiden reaction figures. So this video will show you my complete set of Iron Maiden reaction figures. So please, enjoy.
Britain came into this world and all the walking in his hand marinates us all with love Iron Maiden. I like Iron Maiden a lot. Has a satchel at his side, just don't call it a man purse. He might get so beat red, and in Klingon he will curse. Some say he looks like a diddler, others say he might be a. What the hell is in that bag? I like Iron Maiden. I like Iron Maiden a lot. I like Iron Maiden. I like Iron Maiden a lot.
Since making that video, I actually added one more Eddie figure to my collection. This is the Maiden Japan. Look at that, 45 RPM with an obi strip on the side. And this one has an actual samurai sword, and this one is silver plated. Well, you know, chrome plastic, whatever. Like they used to do in the Micronauts, you know. It's a chromed plastic samurai sword, which differentiates it from this very similar Eddie, who does not have that kind of sword, but you can see the two figures side by side here. There we go. Otherwise, I don't really see a difference. This one here, the actual Maiden Japan Eddie, his clothes are light. They're lighter. But otherwise, I mean, it's not very different. Their skin tone is different. You can see that. The skin tone is different. But really, I mean, the exact same mold and the exact same design, basically. And I think this was the last Eddie that I bought before I stopped collecting, because there are just too many now. That one looks really sweet. That was some kind of exclusive. And while we're on the reaction figures, I'll just show you what else I have nearby. This is not my complete collection, because I have a whole bunch of open ones there too. But there is Johnny Cash. This was in my backdrop for a long time. I have an open Johnny Cash as well. Maybe we'll take a look at him in the future. And over here, a whole bunch more. A whole bunch more. Oh. We have Taylor, Charlton Heston from Planet of the Apes. You maniacs! You blew it up! We have, from the movie They Live, we have those aliens in disguise. And this one here represents what they really look like, and this represents what Rowdy Roddy Piper saw when he put on those magic glasses. But if you remember that classic movie They Live with Rowdy Roddy Piper, yeah, that's them. That's them. We have a glow-in-the-dark Metaluna mutant from the movie This Island Earth. You might know that one mostly from the, the spoof version of it. The name is escaping me. We have Rob Halford from Judas Priest with a whip, a microphone, and some chains. We have Papa 2 from Ghost. The problem with these figures is the microphones are so small, I have actually lost a Papa microphone. Lemmy from Motorhead with his bass. There are so many of these now. Here's another Papa 3. And here is a crazy, crazy Papa that comes on a $666 bill. I have an open one of this one as well. Oh, I just found 2 more. Check this one out. That's, like, the packaging is ridiculous. The packaging is just ridiculous. But that's Papa whoever, the sax player. And here's another one. I can't keep them all straight. There are so many. There are so many. They're cool and everything, but, you know, I don't want to punch. Many of these are unpunched, you see? The hanger? So I can't hang it. I don't want to display it. I don't want to unpunch it. But here's 2 more Papas for you. And here's even more reaction figures by Super 7 on a recent trip to a toy store out east by Jex Russell. There's some reaction figures for you right here on Grab a Stack of Rock. So let's go from that to another clip regarding action figures. This one was a show where I planned on opening up these KISS BstAxn action figures. They're kind of cool. Look at all the extra hands and the instruments and things that you get with them. There's Gene. There's Ace. He was the hardest one to find, incidentally. Ace I had to order. The other 3 I found at Walmart. Or was it Toys R Us? I think it was Toys R Us. Extra hands. You can have Paul doing this if you want. And Peter. Drum stool, snare drum, drumsticks, and 2 open hands. I never opened these up. We did this on a live show featuring my former co-host, Maiden Heels. And being live, I started to get frustrated because I was trying to open them without damaging the packaging. And ultimately, I decided to keep them all sealed. But this is a clip regarding these action figures and also a very special KISS Love Gun vinyl that I got for Christmas that year. That was early 2023, February in fact. So this is a short clip regarding KISS on Grab a Stack of Rock. Okay, so we're gonna test your knowledge.
Oh boy. Oh
Okay.
boy.
Okay. Okay, so you're going to tell me, and Scott, you're not going to help.
Uh-oh.
You're going to
Scott,
tell
I
me
need
the
your help.
difference between that. You see that right there? You see that?
Okay.
You're going to tell me the difference between that
Oh no.
and that right there.
Okay.
Do you see it?
Yes, I see the difference. Yes.
You do see the difference. Okay,
Yes.
so what I have here is a late Christmas present, actually, because it had to come from Germany.
Whoa.
And Scott will tell you, in Germany, KISS have a different logo. And that's what it looks like in Germany.
Okay.
And the reason is the S's there look far too much like the Nazi SS. And,
Yeah.
you know,
Mhm.
obvious reasons. So they switched it over to this. And there's a lot of people out there who collect the alternate KISS logo stuff.
That is
And,
pretty cool though.
This is only my second on vinyl. So I'm very excited to have this.
That's
I didn't-
awesome.
I didn't know what this was going to be when it came. I thought it was going to be the standard version. But there you go.
Even better. I love that. That's awesome.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
So this is getting played on the weekend.
Very good.
Yeah. If I had to ask you to name KISS members,
Yeah.
I know you've studied.
Uh-huh.
Throw me a name. No, the singing is not in German.
Well, what do you wanna how do you wanna do this?
I don't know. You name one and I'm going to open them up.
Okay, well, I can tell you who Ryan's favorite is.
Okay.
It's Paul Stanley.
Done.
And he is the Star Child.
You're good.
Yay!
You are good.
Now, who's your favorite?
You're looking at him.
Yeah, okay, so you and Ryan, you guys agree.
Look at the hairy chest.
Yeah.
I've told you this before, and Scott will remember. But when I was a kid, you know, I idolized this guy. And, you know, I tried to dance like him. I tried to look like him. I tried to talk like him. And I'm having a hard time opening this up. I want to be able to keep the packaging nice because
Yeah.
it's
Did you bring like a knife?
I did, but I'm kind of. I don't want to cut it. I don't want to damage it. I feel like this might be something I might need to do off camera.
Okay.
You know what? We're going to
it.
change the plan. I'm going to apologize to the KISS fans in advance. I'm going to have to do this off camera, I think, because I want to preserve the packaging. So instead, we're just going to take a really good look at each figure.
Yeah. Let's not risk it.
Yeah. We don't want to damage the packaging that I want to preserve. So I've never heard of this company before. BstAxn. Epic Rights. Under license to I don't know these guys. This is a 5-inch action figure, which unfortunately fits with nothing else in my collection. But you can see there's Paul. He comes with at least 2 guitars. You can see one in the back there and one in the front.
That's awesome.
4 alternate hands and a microphone stand.
Nice.
And I was taking a close look at some of these hands earlier, and it looks like I can have one kind of going like this, while I can have the other one picking the guitar.
Nice.
And yes, Paul Stanley remains my favorite KISS member, and those action figures remain sealed. Seems kind of pointless to open them up. Why bother? I have so much KISS stuff. Speaking of which, why don't we take a look at that? This is my KISS Destroyer 24 karat gold compact disc award. This is just merch. This isn't an actual award that they were given or anything like that. But I found it at a comic book store one day, and look at that. You can see my stuff. I found it at a comic book store one day, and I decided, why not? Dare I say, why not? And it was cash only, so I went to the bank machine to get cash. I can't remember how much it was, around $200. And the cash machine didn't give me my cash. It took it out of my account, but it didn't give me my cash. Oh my God, that was a stressful weekend. Check it out. It's called 24 karat gold KISS. Cheap at twice the price on my blog, MikeLadano.com. But there it is. And I kept the certificate of authenticity taped to the back. There you go. Scott J. Kelly, president of the KISS something or others. The KISS catalog. Hi, Jen. Anyway, I got this in 1998 at Carry On Comics in Waterloo. The owner there, Andy, was a really good dude. Is probably still a really good dude. I just haven't been there in a while. Hey, Andy! Okay, so moving on. Now, before I had actually seen the Northern Lights for myself in May of 2024, we were asked on the show by my former co-host from California whether we had actually seen the lights before. At that time, I hadn't, but Bone Erickson had. Bone Erickson, the performer and composer of the Grab a Stack of Rock theme song. Living up in Thunder Bay, seeing the Northern Lights was nothing unusual, but he had a remarkable, poetic way to describe it. And once I had seen the lights for myself, I had to agree with him. So listen to this amazing clip by Bone Erickson regarding the Northern Lights.
Hey, Mike Harrison, how's it going? So, you wanted to know if I've ever seen the Northern Lights. Well, what are the Northern Lights? To me, they are like large sheets of bright, frozen green ice that rise up from the horizon without warning. And although they appear cold at first, upon closer examination, these cold lights dance like flames. 3 times in recent memory, and maybe more, but I'm just going off the top of my head here, I remember seeing the Northern Lights. This past summer, actually, at Plateau Lake, where we have been camping for the last 8 years, we saw them there for the first time, and they were really brilliant, rose quite high into the sky and were quite amazing. And I've including some pictures here in this video. About 10 years ago, we saw them at Clearwater Lake, about 2.5 hours west of Thunder Bay. Again, very similar to what we saw at Plateau Lake. But the most memorable experience I've had with the Northern Lights was probably 17, 18 years ago up at Abonga Lake. 3 hours north of Thunder Bay, close to Armstrong, Ontario, if you look that up on a map. We started to notice them as it approached midnight. This time they rose high into the sky all around us from each horizon. And at one point, I just laid down on the grass and watched as the lights rising from the southern horizon came ever so close to actually touching and meeting the lights rising from the northern horizon. Almost the entire sky was engulfed in the dancing flames of the aurora borealis, and it was amazing. So to answer your question, yes, I have seen northern lights, and they're pretty darn cool. Anyway, as always, good seeing you. Take care.
Bone Erickson, everybody. Grab a stack of rock. You know, back in the early days, T-Bone used to submit a whole bunch of those Ask Harrison questions. We used to run like 2 a night, and they were always so funny. Far more funny than Harrison's rather stoic answers.
Actual stoic answer face to actual T-Bone Erickson question.
So why don't we just run a few of the best of T-Bone Erickson? Enjoy.
Hey, Harrison, how's it going? You know, there's something I've always been meaning to ask you. What the heck did your ancestors do that got you all banished to Australia in the first place? You're all like wanted criminals or something? Anyway, just something I always wanted to know. Anyway, good seeing you. Take care.
Hey, Harrison, how's it going? You know, there's something I've always wanted to ask you. What's the difference between Australia and New Zealand anyway? Is New Zealand just like a higher security prison? Or the place where you send your cousins that you no longer want to have? Anyway, just one of those things I've always wanted to know. Yeah, good seeing you. Take care.
Hey, Harrison, how's it going? You know, something I've always been meaning to ask you. How many times have you been bitten by either a snake or a spider? And are they poisonous and, was it life-threatening? Because I hear they're pretty nasty down there. Anyway, just something I always wanted to know. Hey, it's good seeing you. Take care.
Thanks, T-Bone. Always appreciated your stuff. You know, another guy who has contributed greatly to the show over the years is Tim Derling. You know, the author, Tim Derling. Well, I knew him before he was an author, before he was famous. And on one of the early episodes of the LeBrain Train, Tim was on and he shared a story about Def Leppard. Now, remarkably, I had the exact same story, and there can't be very many people in the world who have this exact same story. And this unfolded live on the LeBrain Train with Aaron from the Keeps Me Alive. So check out this clip. This is exactly as it happened, and Tim and I became friends forever at this exact moment. History. Enjoy.
You guys have inspired me to share a story with you that I'm not proud of.
Oh, no.
Oh, no. No, okay. So this would have been December 1988. So this would have been after Christmas 1988. I was on, my Christmas break. I was in grade 9. And Def Leppard were my favorite band. They're still one of my favorite bands. They were my favorite band then. And there was the Zellers in Fredericton, which was about an hour away from me when I lived in Woodstock, New Brunswick. And a flyer came out with cassettes on them, some cassettes that were for sale. And now that I think about it, some asshole thought they'd be smart. And instead of putting Hysteria on sale.
Can I stop you? I'm going to read your mind.
Yeah.
Soundtrack to the video Historia.
Exactly. Exactly.
Same story, buddy. Same story. Zellers.
And so I
went to buy it.
I pestered my father. I said, we got to go to Fredericton tonight. Tonight. My poor father worked all week in Fredericton. The last thing he wanted to do on Friday night was drive back to Fredericton another hour. But he went down, and I went there, couldn't find it anywhere. And the poor girl working behind the counter, I was such a little shit. I said, I want this tape right here. Like, it's in the flyer. I thought they made the flyer there. You know
yes,
what I mean?
It's in the flyer. That's why I went.
Mike, that is insane.
Dude,
That is
I
insane.
went to
That
the
is
store.
exactly what I'm talking about. I gotta have that. I had the videotape. I said, I want to have that to listen to. That's Def Leppard's greatest hits right there.
Right. The dude was playing it in the store when I got there, and he wouldn't sell it to me.
See, no,
And
but
the reason I wanted it is because I assumed, and I may never know, but at the time, I assumed and hoped it would have the music video version of Pour Some Sugar on Me with the weird intro.
Yes.
Because you couldn't get that at the time. It wasn't on the single, as you
Not
well
till
know.
Bolt came out. Not
Holy
till Bolt
crap,
came
Tim.
out.
Dude, we had the exact same experience at the exact same time.
Yeah. So that's cool. It's just I didn't act very well, but I was so frustrated because there it is in the flyer. You know why? You know,
Soundtrack to the video Historia.
That's crazy.
I remember telling my friends at school, guys, there's a new Def Leppard out. I'm going to go get it. And then I didn't get it. No, I didn't get it. Now, regarding Tim, here's a clip that I don't think anybody's seen before. I don't think this was ever used for anything. This is from Tim's first book, Unspooled, an adventure in 8 tracks, to which I contributed. Enjoy. I'm going to read you a story, a very short story, from Tim Derling's book, Unspooled, an adventure in 8-track tapes. This is the very first time I've ever been published. This is my chapter. When I first started seriously collecting music at the age of 12, I owned it on only 2 formats, LP and cassette, the classic duo. Compact discs only existed in Japan. We hadn't even heard of them. 8 tracks were those weird, chunky things that my parents had, but never played. All that really existed in my suburb bubble were the vinyl record and the compact cassette. That's all I needed to be able to play. I was even younger when I discovered the 8-track tape, so young that I can't remember, and was still sticking things into my mouth. I grabbed one from my parents' big wooden entertainment center and was curious what was inside. It was brown, just like chocolate, I exclaimed as I destroyed one of my mom's tapes. They stopped me before I could destroy another, or try to eat the chocolate I had found inside. While I remember that very clearly, the truth is I don't remember us listening to 8-track tapes very often. My dad's Lloyd's unit had 2 microphone inputs, and he made recordings of us kids. All lost now, I'm afraid. Along with my mom's copy of Rock and Roll Music, the only specific title I can remember us owning. Around 1985, my parents realized they weren't going to be listening to records or 8-tracks anymore. Cassette was king. The living room needed to be renovated, and there was no more room for that giant Lloyd stereo system. The 8-track player didn't work anymore, but it was a single unit combined with a radio receiver and amplifier, which still worked fine. The Lloyd's record player could still plug into it and play fine. I snapped them up. Only one other neighborhood kid was lucky enough to have a record player in his room. Everyone else on the street had to use their parents' systems. My jerry-rigged setup didn't sound great, but I could play what I needed. I took Mom and Dad's hand-me-downs and plugged them into my Panasonic deck. Good enough for a 13-year-old. I recall the sound was rather tinny, but it worked after a spell. If my mom wanted me to tape her old Roy Orbison LPs, I could do that. The Lloyd's receiver lasted 7 more years in that setup. It finally blew a circuit in early '92. A few weeks later, I replaced it with a small, affordable preamp. It didn't have a lot of power, but it enabled me to continue listening to records. The Lloyd's went out to a curb. Thus ended the era of the 8-track tape in our household. My memories are only hazy. The disappointment of a song ending prematurely. The clickety-clack of the changing tracks. The impression that the format was already obsolete before I was able to walk. The many, many youthful years of using that old unit as an amplifier, a steady companion through high school. My best friend Bob teaching me how to hide a deck of Playboy cards inside the shell of an 8-track tape. All good memories, I reckon. My first publishing. I'm going to wrap this show up with a couple more record store tales. The first one is called The Rules, part 19 of Record Store Tales, and it is about how I acquired this box set with all of these wonderful Iron Maiden singles that we will be taking a very close look at during the 50 Years of Iron Maiden series. You had to buy the singles individually and mail away one of these things to get the box to put them in. Offer valid only for residents of the United Kingdom. Please allow up to 8 weeks for delivery. Pretty cool. Had to have it, And this is the story. I will be reading from Part 19 of Record Store Tales, The Rules. After a few years had gone by, there were just too many damn rules to follow. There were so many, we literally had books full of them, with new rules being added regularly. It was pure insanity, because you had to remember some rule that was made, for example, 26 months ago. Not to mention, if you dug far back enough, you could find rules that contradicted each other. It was like telling a dog to sit and come at the same time. You can't do it. But one rule that stood firm was, thou shalt not buy product from a sister store. We had a complex structure of locations, but under no circumstances could a staff member buy product from a store that had a different owner. Their product was for their customers and not for us to pillage. But when one of those owners was a friend, and he sees the Iron Maiden first 10 years box set come in inventory, and they call to tell you that, the rules mean nothing anymore. There were greater goals at hand. This ultra-rare box set was issued in 1990 as 10 CDs all sold separately. You could also get them on vinyl. I recall seeing a few of them on 12-inch vinyl at my local Sam the Record Man, run by the near-legendary Al King, during one of my many teenage record store excursions. CDs are my preferred format today. Collect all 10 of the Maiden singles and you could send away for the box that contains them. Obviously, a complete set is a rare find. This set came in complete as is. I had the receipt. I paid $135.99 on October 7th, 2003, with taxes $156.39. It was worth every penny, but it was also worth the shit that I caught for buying it from another owner. And did I get shit for it? At best, I was bending the rules. At best. I paid full price, no discount. The owner himself rang it in, and he was happily on board with making a quick buck. He even personally delivered it to Kitchener. He could have simply said no. He didn't. Now, I take responsibility for my actions, but an owner has a lot more say in things than I do. I didn't deserve what happened next. A higher-up stormed into my store, pulled into my office, slammed the door, and yelled, and pointed a lot, and yelled some more. It was a weird feeling. Here I was getting screamed at so much that dogs could hear it 4 miles away, but also elated about getting my Iron Maiden find at the exact same time. It was like I didn't know if I should be happy or pissed off. It's like anytime you see someone trying so hard not to smile. But I pulled it off, and I owned the fucking Iron Maiden First 10 Years box set. Their big argument was it's a bad example to your employees, but really that wasn't an issue. No employees knew about it, not one, until they made a big scene of it by yelling at me in the store. That's what let the cat out of the bag. The one that said I was setting a bad example was the one who informed the world. I walked out of my office, head hanging low, but when out of sight, I grinned ear to ear. Of course, the two people who overheard the whole thing asked about it afterwards. The employee known as the Dandy Douche asked me, do you think it was worth it? And would you do it again? I said, absolutely. But next time I'm wearing a fake beard and mustache, the whole disguise, and buying it in person. Unfortunately, I never had the chance to do that. The Iron Maiden box set was one of the last big items from my Holy Grail list that came in. So I hope you enjoyed that story. I do have one more record store tale to run, but this one, you might want to knock it out now and call it a show. This one's more of a bonus track. It is not for the weak of stomach. This was from a live episode of the LeBrain Train way back in the early days before we were even on YouTube. This is from Facebook Live. This is Record Store Tales Part 7, A Shitty Story. I bid you good night, and don't say I didn't warn you. I'm going to read for you tonight a chapter of Record Store Tales. I'm going to read for you Chapter 7. Let's start there. This is Catherine Ladano's album, Masked.
I'm going to read from you Record Store Tales Part 7, A Shitty Story. August 1995. Beautiful, warm summer day. The sun was up early, and so was I. It was Sunday, the best day to work at the store. Sunday was just a 4-hour shift, and in the summer, very slow. It was your basic fun day to be at work, cleaning away and listening to tunes in air conditioning. I usually walked to work. I put on some shorts and a big baggy t-shirt and headed out on foot. The best way cut across this school and park with 2 baseball diamonds. While walking, I couldn't help but think of how great life was. The sun was out, it was summer. I only had to work 4 hours. My family was at the cottage for that weekend, so I had the place to myself when they got home too. Right in between the first baseball field and the second, I felt my stomach gurgle a bit. I'd had the farts quite a bit that morning, but that was nothing unusual. I continued along my path. It sure was a quiet day in town that morning. I loved the way the sun was shining through the leaves. As the gurgles continued, I entered the mall. I strode down the empty hallway to the big glass window of our store and opened the door. Just when I had closed the door, locked it behind me, and was in an enclosed space, I let off another stinker. It was rotten, like an egg that had just been dropped behind me. It was powerful and sour. They kept coming too, in little squirts here and there. I started to feel crampy. I picked the right music too. This sounds like farts. I picked out my music for the day, Joe Satriani. Opened the door. It's amazing I remember that it was Joe Satriani, but yeah, it was. Opened the door, letting out the smell, and waited for customers. I was really starting to feel rotten. I worked the first 2 hours just farting up a storm. Unsurprisingly, I didn't have many customers that day. They could probably smell me down the hall. I don't know what I ate, but I know what my sausage farts smelled like, and this was worse. I wasn't feeling too mobile anymore, so I pulled up the chair. Suddenly, I really had to shit. I was still farting too. 2 o'clock rolled around. I made it halfway through the day. The rest should be no problem. Halfway there. Point of no return. Ha! Whatever. Piece of cake. Only a few people came in. The cleaning could wait. I just tell the truth. I wasn't feeling that well. Besides, I could really just catch up the next day anyway. I farted again. It felt good. I felt a tremendous amount of relief. Then, the horror struck. The feeling that something wasn't right. The smell. I looked down to see a tiny trickle of liquid shit rolling down my leg. There was someone in the store. Holy shit, I couldn't leave. Oh fuck, oh fuckity fuck fuck. Although I was in complete denial of it at the time, there was no way that guy didn't smell me. There was no fucking way. It was unavoidable. It was a wall of stench just hanging there, stale in the air. It was incredible. Still, the man had etiquette. As he paid for his cassette, he politely asked me, "Are you feeling okay? You're turning green." I told him I'd thrown up earlier. He wished me well and left. Completely and totally freaking out, I waddled over to the door and locked the store. We didn't have a washroom. I had no choice. I had to make it to the wall mock washroom and fast. I prayed to God that it would be empty. I improvised a back in 5 minutes sign. Tried to waddle anonymously down the hall. I hung a right, down another hall. Why the hell were the washrooms so far away? I entered. It was empty. I entered a stall, bracing myself for whatever lay ahead. I took a deep breath and prepared to look down below. It was bad. A deep puddle of rich brown liquid shit lay in my undies. Luckily, it had acted as a bowl to catch most of it. A few streams went down my legs, but none reached my socks. Small victory. I'll take that. I had no choice. There was only one thing to do. I removed my shorts and then carefully removed the underwear while maintaining the bowl shape. Then I flushed them down the toilet. I prayed that it would not plug. It did not. Grasping a generous amount of toilet paper, I cleaned myself up the best I could. The washroom still empty. I wet some paper towels as well. My shorts had been stained through. I cleaned them up as best I could, but they were definitely tainted. Luckily, my baggy shirt, when untucked, more or less covered the stain. I sat there on the store chair the next 2 hours, not moving my ass once. I phoned up Tom, who was in Waterloo. "I just threw up, man," I lied. "What should I do? Should I go home?" I have 2 more hours to go. Tom urged me to go home, but some perverse sense of duty prevented it. I'd hang in there. That day, our store earned a record low amount, $99 in sales for the day. That record stood the whole time I worked there. Even the worst snow days we've ever had, my record stood. I closed up shop. Spraying our vinyl chair with a healthy dose of Lysol, I wiped it down. It stank. I cleaned it up again until the smell was gone. The last of the evidence was wiped clean. I waddled home, the shit now drying in the crack of my ass. As I walked, the friction turned to heat. The heat turned to burning, and the burning turned to agony. I walked through the park. Listen to the music. I walked through the park, now occupied by many people watching a baseball game. I strode between the crowd and the diamond, the only pathway. I walked like I had a pickle up my ass. I got home, tossed out the shorts, ran a shower, and cleaned myself thoroughly with generous amounts of soap. After my shower, I just ran a cold bath and soaked. Ah. When you have a day like that, you can handle anything, I guarantee it. I am not ashamed of my incontinence. Rather, there is a lesson here. Shitting your pants is definitely a good reason to close the store early. Amen.